Hey guys, so this past weekend we had LCS 15, so back-to-back weeks of very competitive events following the YCS. As usual, I'll be going over the most played hand traps and staples among the decks in Top Cut, so if you like data videos like these, then make sure to subscribe for more. Now don't forget to check out Luxury Gaming's website as well as Luxury Gaming TV on Instagram to check out the deck list. I'll have all the links below as well. Now this was the deck breakdown of the event provided on Luxury Gaming's Instagram page. In total there were 124 players, and while that may not have been as many as in the past, these events always bring some of the most competitive players in the game. We basically saw a whole lot of Drytron and Tri-Brigade as well as Sky Striker, so pretty similar to what we were accustomed to after the YCS. As for Top Cut, I didn't see an official breakdown provided by Luxury Gaming at the time that I recorded this video, so I just made my own. We do see Drytron, Prank Kids, and Tri-Brigade each taking up 3 slots in the top 16, and for Prank Kids, that was pretty impressive considering that there were only 11 total Prank Kids at the event. This deck ended up winning the whole tournament as well. Dragon Link seems to be still alive with 2 decks making Top Cut, and there were some one-ofs including Infernoble Knights that came second place. So this video is only going to focus on the list that made it to the top 16. To provide an overview of the hand traps, if you were to look at the number of hand traps by deck, and for decks where there were multiples in Top Cut, then I took the median number. So you see that Sky Strikers played the most hand traps at 15, not too surprising. And then you had Salad, Tri-Brigade, Prank Kids, and Virtual World all playing at least 10 hand traps in the main as well. If you look at all of the decks, then the number of hand traps in the main range from 0 to 15, with the median of 9 hand traps, so this is actually slightly lower than the last LCS. As for hand traps in the side, it ranged from 3 to 12 with a median of 8 hand traps. Here you see the rest of the decks and their hand trap count in the main. Ignister also played quite a lot at 9, although the remaining decks did not play as many. Now I have 0 for Drytron, but technically they do play Orange Heralds, about 2 to 3 depending on the list, which are hand traps. But for these kind of videos, I'm only focusing on more generic hand traps that can be played by any deck, so I didn't include the oranges and these counts, so keep that in mind. Lastly, Infernoble Knights also didn't play any hand traps in the main, as this deck typically doesn't play too many to have their combo pieces. As for Backrow hate, this graph now shows the number of Backrow removal cards in the side deck, and again, showing the median number if there were multiples of the same deck in Top Cut. Sky Strikers did play 5 in the side, all quick plays too, like MST and Cosmic Cyclone, presumably because of Imperial Order and Anti-Spell Fragrance. I did recently do an analytical video on Sky Strikers and how their win percentage differed based on whether the opponent resolved these floodgates and much more, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. The remaining decks typically play 2 to 4 Backrow hate in the side. In the main, across all decks, typically you don't see too many Backrow removal cards being played, and for the side, the median number was 3 across all decks. Just going to show the remaining decks here, and Ignister played a lot of Backrow removal all in the side, including 3 Storms and 3 Cyclones, as well as 1 Red Reboot. And finally, let's cover the top 10 most played hand traps and staples at this past LCS. At number 1, as always, we have Ash Blossom, although this time we actually have a tie with Droll. Considering Drytron's emergence as one of the best decks since Lightning Overdrive, I'm sure most players coming into this event were packing Drolls. Infinite Impermanence also continues to turn back in terms of popularity, now coming in at 3rd with most lists in the Top Cut main decking the card. Similar to Impermanence, other monster negation like Effect Failure is also popular again, being really good against decks like Tri-Brigade, which of course everyone knew was going to be very, if not the most popular. Ghost Spell was also seen in 7 lists, which can provide another interruption against Drytron combos and can be amazing against Tri-Brigade Revolt if they could not set up Appaloosa. We also have Gamma being somewhat popular, also being seen in 7 lists. Lancia is certainly not as popular as before since the leveling off of Dinos, although still a good card to have against Tri-Brigade as well as Virtual World, although unfortunately it really does nothing against Drytron. DD Crow was talked about a lot when Engage came back, and while that is not the only reason it saw a good amount of play, I'm sure it was certainly on the players' minds. Despite Dragon Link not being the best deck anymore, Phantasme still seems to be alive in use because after all, most of the top decks are all link summoning at least once for this card to be live. Nibiru is another card I was seen in 5 lists, and this may be the lowest that I've seen Nibiru while doing these videos. The format isn't as combo heavy as it has been in the past, so I suppose it lost some popularity. Alright, now on to the staples. For these lists, I don't include some generic staples like pot cards or things like Foolish or Monster Reborn because those are absolute certain main deck cards. I only include cards that are at least sometimes considered as side cards for the sake of these videos. Typically, we see Backrow hate as number 1, but this time we actually saw Triple Tactics Talent as the most popular staple. This was seen in all of the Drytron and Prankids lists for example, and just serves as a really good way to keep extending through hand traps. Similar to that concept, we also see Call by the Grave creeping up as well, and despite being at 1, always seeing a lot of play. Then we have the Backrow hate such as Twin Twisters, Cosmic Cyclone, and Feather Duster. Interesting to see twins see more play again. I know the last time we saw a lot of twins being played at the LCS top cut list was because of respect for Prankids. They are still a good deck right now, and of course having a lot of quick play backrow removal is nice because of the play of Imperial Order in Tri-Brigade decks. Then we have both Forbidden Droplet and Chalice. Forbidden Chalice was also seen in a few topping lists at the last LCS. It certainly does have unique advantages of being able to negate monster effects as a quick effect on your turn while you still control cards, unlike Imperm, and can serve as additional Forbidden Droplets just without having to pay any cost. Although it can only negate one monster and it does target, but that may not be much of a disadvantage anyways. As I said earlier, Imperial Order of course sees play due to mainly Tri-Brigade lists. It'd be hard to see any of those decks without playing this card. And then lastly, you have additional backrow hate cards such as Lightning Storm and Red Reboot, which typically make their presence on these lists. Alright guys, so that was it for another LCS recap. A big congrats to the Luxury Gaming crew for holding another great tournament. Like I said, if you want to see more data videos like these, then consider subscribing and sharing the video. Take care guys.